Good evening, everyone. I am Dr. Sean Wiebe, and I'm currently working at the University of Prince Edward Island. And I'm excited to present today for a Skilling Future on teaching writing in the context of AI. If you'd like to be in touch with me, please feel free to email me directly at my university email. I've got it right here on the first slide. I highly encourage you to get in touch for anything related to teaching writing or teaching critical thinking in the context of AI. I've named my presentation Teaching Writing in the Context of AI because I think developing an AI mindset is in fact the number one skill that we need to translate to teachers in K-12 and instructors in higher ed. Let's quickly walk through the agenda for today. For the first few minutes, I'll be talking about the introduction of the AI context. This may be familiar to many of you, but for those of you who want just a quick insight into what I think has changed for writing teachers, even why it's difficult to call yourself a writing teacher today, I'll be spending some time on the AI context. And then I'll spend a little bit of time on the difference between technical solutions versus pedagogical solutions. What I'm here to talk to you today about are pedagogical solutions, and primarily one pedagogical solution that I think is ready to go. And that is teaching writing, which will be the main part of the presentation, teaching writing with a mentor text, which helps create a mental model or mental schema. And I'm calling these micro inquiries that can be completed in one class right in front of the teacher, so that the teacher is immediately relying on observation and assessment hand in hand to give immediate feedback to students and to help them develop the schema and mental models, which will help them be better thinkers and writers when they are using AI tools. So imagine with me students using not just one generative AI bot, but 8. Each one with a specific role and skill set in order to tailor a particular aspect of the writing. Now, the student writer or the expert writer has a whole team to collaborate with. Each person on the team is motivated and is responding to the director, if you will. Imagine a conductor or the maestro of an entire orchestra that is responding to the direction, to the creation of the soul of the music. I think this is where writing is going. And it means not just picking up a new set of skills so much as understanding what it is that we need to focus on. I mean, for a long time, we've even been dealing with a simple kind of AI with Grammarly or some of the built-in spell checking and grammar checking software that's been part of word processing. So for the better part of 10, 15 years, English teachers have been saying, why teach grammar? Why teach the spelling? And those have been things that we can move well into the background as we focus on what's important. That's the shift that's in front of us now, is asking what is it that's important and having a really good idea of the essential skills that we need to focus on. So picture with me then someone who's directing, someone who's got vision, someone who's got a sense of the rhythm and soul of a piece. and what is it that we might focus on? Because now, if AI is going to sort of do the writing part, this puts the visioning part to the major focus of what teachers need to be thinking about when they're planning their lessons. A second context to be aware of is sort of an opposite situation of imagining the future, but looking at what's happening in classrooms right now. And certainly in my context at the University of Prince Edward Island, adoption is low. And this is what I'm hearing when I'm talking to students, when I'm talking to parents, when I'm talking to my colleagues. Not much has actually changed in the day-to-day teaching practice. It's almost like in 85% of the classrooms, AI doesn't even exist. So for this context, for those in educational leadership positions, it comes down to priorities. We're not going to stand up in front of our staff and tell them about students as writing teams being the conductor, the maestro of an orchestra, where they're simultaneously using 8 generative AI bots to get their work done. That's a no-go. To get started, we need the AI mindset, and that's a simple recognition of what's possible when students pick up AI tools right from their smartphones. Easy apps to get the work done. And so for a much faster take-up, I'm highly recommending that we focus on the quick work of changing our assessment practices. Big changes will include doing a lot more improvised oral work. And what I've got to present today heavily emphasizes assessment that's immediate, that takes place right in the class, and is micro so that students can really focus on the visioning part when they're doing their writing and critical thinking. And here's a quick side note. Personally, I wonder if I'm a writing teacher anymore. I mean, I do teach other courses at the University of Prince Edward Island, primarily in educational theory and curriculum development. But I've been researching on literacies for a long time, and I'm at the stage where I wonder if I'm correctly naming myself as a writing teacher. I think now I'm teaching students to vision the world, to critically think, to be creative, where some of the building blocks that we might have taught before with writing are not some of the same things that I emphasize anymore. Pedagogical solutions are ones that any teacher can implement. They are focused on what teachers are highly skilled on. Pedagogical solutions have to do with the teaching relationship, short and long-term planning, assessment. And so these kinds of solutions direct teachers what to pay attention to, what kind of mindsets to have, what kinds of new strategies they can engage in. And they don't depend on technical solutions. Technical solutions will be any of those solutions that require sort of AI knowledge, right? So this would be going back and learning some prompting, perhaps learning how to generate your own chatbot, being able to assess tools that are available. I'm really going to focus on what can we do to train teachers to have better pedagogical knowledge when it comes to AI so that they can make better decisions with their students in the classroom. And that's what's coming right next. The bulk of this presentation is what I am calling a micro inquiry. It features many of the same kinds of components to a full, larger scale inquiry, but it's been miniaturized in order to focus on key essential skills, what you might call durable skills, that I feel are important with the context of AI. This is one example. I'm going to walk you through something that I've tried as young as grade 6, all the way up to PhD, and I've even used it at the master's level as a midterm exam. This example features some of the key components for what I feel is a strategic way to teach writing and critical thinking, and even to conduct an inquiry within the context of AI. So let's get started. The micro inquiries that I've developed, over 100 now, feature a similar kind of workflow. For one, they all involve having a mentor text or a model text which students can look at. I believe what the model text does is it provides a schema or a mental model that students will be able to recall whenever they're in a similar critical thinking or creative situation. I like to call those the rhetorical context. Whenever they're called to sort of puzzle or think or strategize, what I've noticed is that when students have a number of internalized mental models or schema for thinking, they're able to draw on those, and then when combined with AI tools, they're able to write very pointedly and effectively for solving problems, to any of the key essential skills. So let's pick this one up here, one that is a social critique. So for English teachers, you'll know the genre of social critique. Doing one of these often comprises a long essay, but remember the model that I'm going over here is a miniature inquiry. All right, so let's take a look at social critique. We've got the mentor text from Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, and this selected text from Half of a Yellow Sun comes from chapter 28. You'll notice here on the left-hand side, what we have in terms of the mental model is a simple problem and solution dynamic going on. But a lot of narratives will have a middle section. So it's not a binary situation, but we have the statement of a problem, the intensification of that problem, and then the solution, which I've named as reimagining a better way. I don't know why they will never tell us the truth so that we can prepare. The people in the Ministry of Information took their public address van all over the city, telling us it was okay. It was only our boys practicing with the shelling. If they'd only told us the truth, many of us would have been better prepared and would not have lost so much. So with the mentor text right there acting as a mentor, the students can immediately visualize that this is a small amount of writing. It's 50 to 100 words, but there's hard work here, even though the writing output has been miniaturized. And I think that's an important strategy when it comes to AI, because AI can do the job. AI is going to be able to do the writing. And so here we have a situation where a little bit of writing is going to give us something to evaluate in terms of students developing skills, but there's a heavy emphasis on thinking. And so the first thing that I want to do as a writing teacher is I want to make getting started easy. All right, this getting started part, I don't know why. All of my mentor texts have a easily repeatable I don't know why, or there are two forces. There's They're all named with that kind of language to help students get started. All right, we know that students have difficulties getting started. We want to practice and give them an ability to get started. And this simplifies recall later when they've got 20, 30 mental models to choose from. Having these sort of easy to remember get started phrases allows them to easily retrieve them and apply them in a new or similar situation. All right, so we're going to make getting started easy. Here we are, we're pointing out with students that you can do social critique with identifying a problem. And then we're going to describe that problem. We're going to intensify, make us feel it. And then in the conclusion, we're going to reimagine a better way. You'll notice already that in breaking it down into this 1, 2, 3, into a beginning and a middle and an end, for those students who've always struggled with introductions and conclusions, they're starting to see immediately the difference between an introduction and a conclusion. So as a side note here, some of the things that are happening when you shrink the essay down into this miniature inquiry is we're able to focus on key skills of what matters. A 1,500-word essay is just too big. There's too much to comment on. Here, we can be incredibly strategic and focused on an essential skill. So you can see here, problem identification is a major one. 2, when you describe a problem in action, we call that problematization or context expansion, so that we can genuinely involve our empathy in understanding the nuances of what makes this problem so problematic. Those 2 steps are critical before we move into trying to reimagine a better way or offer our solution. Synchronized with the mentor text, we're also going to break our lesson into 3 parts. The beginning will have a set of essential skills. The middle will have a different set of essential skills. And the third part will have a different set of essential skills. We can also do different kinds of things when we break our lesson into 3 parts. And so the first part, completely wide open, students can critique anything. Right? Their autonomy is important here. So similar to these larger styles of project-based learning that can take up to 2 or 3 weeks, passion projects, inquiries, students are choosing themselves what it is that they can critique in society. Similar to the writing process that students will be already familiar with, we're starting with idea generation. I love when students are working in pairs or in teams because now we're simply completing the sentence, I don't know why. But identifying a social problem is not easy. And so as your students start to generate their first sentences, we're recognizing that they're doing exactly the same cognitive work that they would be if they were doing something larger. Right? They're brainstorming together, they're dialoguing, they're sharing, and we are focused on the kinds of essential skills that go with problem identification. As an aside, Daniel Kahneman suggests that problem identification or problem formulation is the number 1 scholarly research skill that students need to develop. As you're walking around talking with your teams, here's what you're going to emphasize. We want something simple, short, to the point. We want the writing to be clear. When you listen in on the conversations, you're looking for something from the everyday that is problematic in some way to the student's personal experience. All right, they can complain, they can identify. This is asking them to get closer up to their lived experience and interact. It's difficult, and so we want to emphasize the right kinds of things, which is the critical thinking part. We don't want to overly emphasize how to say it or what to say so much. Keep them focused on being curious and on their lived experience. Right? As well, it's helpful for them to understand a larger context. Get them thinking about when they might say, I don't know why. Who are they talking with? Where are they? So that kind of dramatization establishes better context awareness of when these kinds of social critiques happen. So that's what you're doing as they're doing this work. This probably takes 20 minutes or so of your class time, assuming you have about an hour, and you're giving students an opportunity to brainstorm. But the brainstorm is really quite focused in this particular strategy that I've developed, this particular mentor text, is the problem solution one. So keep them on the problem when it comes to their brainstorming. So in this kind of structure, I don't mind that students are using AI because they're using AI right in front of me. I want them to practice the tools that are available. Some teachers may go with a different strategy here. They may want this to be only about students working with one another, and I'm okay with that. But here's a perfect opportunity for all the tools to be available to help students come up with that first I don't know why sentence. For me personally, I am curious about their prompts. So when I set it up, I actually only have one group using AI, and they need to keep track of their prompts. And then when it comes to sharing and afterwards, when we talk about those prompts, I think those prompts are really revealing about what students are capable of and their current level of thinking. So that's how I'm currently working with prompts. Part of me wants to be a little bit more convincing about why micro inquiries can be so powerful. So I'm going to take a little bit of time here just to suggest what is still happening in the inquiry, even though it's been shrunk down to about one class hour. Students still have autonomy and choice. So when we're looking at the literature on project-based learning and inquiry, this is the key thing. What students say is always their choice. What it is that they want to critique is their choice. Two, I'm always having students work in teams at the beginning. Usually the beginning part is where I highly encourage larger teams. The middle part, I'm starting to move them more towards independent or partner work. And endings, I almost always have students write individually. However, notice that it's active, they have to write, there's deadlines, we are moving forward and trying to solve a problem. Number three, we're noticing in the research literature that the feedback is instantaneous. Students are giving each other feedback as they try and come up with the best sentence that they can, and the feedback from the teacher is also instantaneous. Number four, all of the ones that I've designed have immediate world relevance. This is where students are using their lived experience as a way to interact with the world, and they're practicing the problematization of it. It involves reading the world, understanding the world, be engaged in the world that you and I live in. And lastly, right after students have completed, or student teams have completed their first sentences, I will typically move into a kind of ranking or competition mode where we all get to talk about the first sentences. And so this kind of assessment is assessment right there in the class, and it's immediate for students. And I'll talk a little bit more detail on that one down the road. So at this part of the lesson, every group has finished an I don't know why sentence. We're putting them in front of the students in some way, projecting on the board, however you're going to have everybody see everybody's work. We're interested in what students will say about what they were trying to achieve. Most importantly, go with your authentic reader feedback. If you don't think it's a good one, but you don't have words for it, just say, hey, this is not my favorite. If you have nothing else that you're expert on, that comes in time. But for now, if you stay focused on the key essential skills, you'll be able to match your feedback right to the rubric. And the rubric that I've got provided here is also broken down into 3 sections. All right. But do trust your reader instincts. One of the things you're going to be able to do much better than any kind of generative AI feedback system is describe your own read aloud reading. I'm bored here. I stopped here. This doesn't engage me. This feels too trite. This is cliche. Anything that can be offered as feedback, or I like this. Oh, this is really interesting. This is a great idea. Those are all authentic kinds of exclamatory responses. Focus in on things that are different and new and novel and that engage you and make you want to keep reading. Ultimately, reading is about ultimately, writing is about moving readers to the next sentence. Here are a couple of examples to look at. They illustrate the different age groups. And as is typical with inquiry, when it's wide open, students can write on the concerns that are their concerns. I don't know why I moved to Canada. I was told we had nothing. I was told we had to move away like it was nothing, leaving my new life and friends just to start from scratch. If only I was told earlier, it wouldn't have felt like a knife to my chest. And that's grade 6. Impressive. Let's move up to senior grades. I don't know why I can see a future with the Main Street Coffee Girl. I don't know why morning after pizza always tastes better. Or I don't know why people romanticize the idea that life is short. Right? So in my classroom, I have all of the examples that a class generates, and we talk. We talk for 10 or 15 minutes, and we try to respond authentically as readers about what it is that we like, why we want to keep reading, and we're talking about what interests us. If you're looking for a multi-literacies approach, and I certainly treat this as optional, I don't always have time, but I sometimes have the groups actually explore different contexts, and they dramatize their entire micro inquiry. It might be 2 students walking along, and one of them says to another, I don't know why, and the drama begins. And when they see those dramas, it helps them understand context awareness and what the source of their question can be. Again, this is optional, but I do find it fun and helps students start to improvise and internalize the mental model that I've built for them. You've probably seen Connor Grennan's prompts before. I've got them in this presentation because I have asked students to use these prompts as part of revising their first sentences, and it often can refine their ideas. So I do recommend after those first sentences are written that they immediately can have some opportunity to go into revision before they move to the middle section. So let's quickly review the essential skills here. We've got problem identification, we've got problem formalization, we've got problem contextualization, explanation. You can use description as a means to persuade. We've got critique of everyday practices, and then imagining better alternatives, or if you will, exploring knowledge for novel application. Once you've discussed the beginning, you can use the rest of the class for students to write the middle and the ending. Uh, with the micro inquiry, they almost all finish. And then you're circulating and providing instant feedback as they go about. And that pretty much sums up an entire hour. But when you think about the essential skills practiced and the way that this works with AI, you've got a genuine pedagogical solution to what has been a troubling couple of years for how to teach writing. Here's a quick peek at the rest of the assessment tool that I've developed so that you can see here that there's some goals and strategies for the middle and for the ending. And lastly, what I normally do is go and immediately mark these because they're small. I don't have a lot of marking. It's not going to take all night. I usually pick one or two and create a secondary follow-up problem for students to work on. So thank you very much. We've got some time for questions now, and encourage you to be in touch with me if you've got any questions, or if you're interested in having me share some of the other mentor text samples that I have. I continue to work on these, and the book that I'm coming out with, Teaching Writing in the Context of AI, is a list of my 12 best and the ones that I'm using with my own students. Thank you very much.